Hi everyone, my name is Jason and I am from the Yahuwah and the Torah YouTube channel, Rumble channel, Odyssey. You'll find us out everywhere. And I thank you guys for joining us and this team when we read through these. And what we're reading today, what I'm reading to you guys today, is part 5 of a book that is called Traditions of Men. Now, for those who have not been with us for these first 4 episodes prior to this, I will leave the links in the descriptions below. And if you guys would start with part 1, it would probably make a tremendous more sense than starting at part 5. But if you're starting part 5, we'd love to have you. And this is what we are discussing right now. Now, this is the book cover of Traditions of Men. And it has it's a nefarious, evil-looking eyes right there. And we have what looks like fingerprints upon the traditions. And it also has the puppet master, who is Hasatan, who is jingling all of these things that you see before us, which are called traditions, which we are led to believe, and he is the puppet master of all of them. Now, currently we are on revision 2 of this. We will be going to revision 3 at some point soon, and we will get that posted as well. The free PDF is available in the description below, as well as the Amazon link if you guys would like to order the color copies or the black and white. They are absolutely available down below in the link, and we thank you guys. Everything we have is, again, completely free, and all the free downloads for the scriptures, Yah Scriptures, and everything else are right there at yahscriptures.com. Now, what we've gone over prior to this is a short name study. In the short name study, what we learned and what we discovered is that the name of our Creator and the name of His Son have been replaced. The name of our Creator is between 7,000 to 8,000 times has been replaced throughout Scriptures, and in it they put the surtitle of God or Lord. And when we are talking to people, if we don't know their name, it's a little awkward if we just say, "Hello, Mister. How are you doing, Mister?" And there are a lot of lowercase g gods, and how they differentiate between what they call our Elohim, which is Yahuwah, is they give us a capital G. And so in the capital G, that's all we have for the name of our Creator when His name is Yahuwah. And so that is what we learned in this. And throughout the rest of this, we have learned how there are aspects within the Catholic Church that are completely nefarious, and they're completely against what Scripture says. And that is what we've learned in the first 4 parts of this. Now, today we are going to go into a little thing on the scriptural festivals. And there's a lot of questions. A lot of people don't know that there is things that we should be rehearsing, things that we should be doing, and appointed times that we should be keeping according to Scriptures. Now, as I was a Christian for 30 plus years, I didn't put much emphasis on the Old Testament. It was something that we had been told was something of the past. We were told that it had been done away with. The laws of our Creator were no more. And that as we are Christians, that we do not have to follow what the Old Testament said, because that was for the old Jews. That was for the people who our Creator had chosen. And now, because we are in a religion called Christianity, we don't have to follow these laws anymore. Now, this is what we have been discovering and what we've been going through in this book, is that the laws, statutes, and commandments that are found on the first page of Genesis and end in the end of Deuteronomy are for us for all generations, for all times. There's no time limit, and there's no set expiration date. They're not a carton of milk that goes bad. And there's no place in Scriptures from the first of the book to the end of Revelation that says the laws of our Creator are no more. Now, many people will take the words of Shaul, Rabbi Shaul, who is one of the authors of a tremendous amount of the New Testament, and they will take a few paragraphs or a few sentences out of context, and then they will apply that to their doctrine, and they will do things that they say the law is no more, or the law doesn't apply to us because a couple of pages here and there in the New Testament written by a man, they think that that's not to them. Now, those are all traditions of men, because nowhere in Scriptures ever does it say that the law is no more. It is for us, and it is for all times. Now, what we're reading right here is a part of truth and tradition. And the part of the scriptural festivals is this. Now, this is the part we all have to figure out is, do we want truth or do we want tradition? Do we want to take a look at what the second Exodus could be? Do we want to look at what the kingdom of our Creator is going to be like? Do we want to hang with our Messiah when he comes to rule in that millennium? Because if we want all of those things, then we need to make sure that we are in the truth. We need to be on the left side. Because if we are stuck in traditions where we believe, say for instance, that all food has been made clean, when nowhere in any part of scriptures has the Leviticus 11 dietary laws been done away with. In fact, the only version, the NIV Bible, is the one that has corruption where it puts in parentheses, all food has been made clean, when in fact the entire chapter had nothing to do with anything other than the Pharisees accusing Messiah and his people of not washing their hands. And that is what our Messiah was talking about. Now, let's talk about what are the appointed times of our Creator. What are his things? What should we be doing? Many people only think of Easter or Christmas as some sort of appointed time. They have never, ever heard of the real appointed times of our Creator. So let's get into it and let's see what we can find out for truth. Yahuwah or your way? While Christianity is celebrating holy days of pagan origin, which are nowhere found in Scripture, when we do examine the Word, we find numerous references in both covenants to festivals given by Yahuwah as a command to have been celebrated by true believers for more than 3,000 years. They are taught and observed in both covenants, kept by the ancient patriarchs as well as by the apostles and Yahushua the Messiah himself, yet remain a near total mystery to the world. How can this be? Throughout history, mankind has displayed a rebellious attitude toward anything Yahuwah tells us to do. Throughout Scripture, we read of Israel constantly being swayed by the nations around them and copying their traditions despite being warned not to do so many times. Leviticus 18:3, Deuteronomy 12:30, 2 Kings 17:15, and Jeremiah 10:2. Nowhere in the list of days to keep found in Leviticus 23, Exodus 12, Deuteronomy 16, and elsewhere do we see any of today's popular holidays. We would rather make our own rules for life and worship, unbound by scriptural do's and don'ts. On top of this, we now have a society with hundreds of years of tradition that everyone assumes is commonplace. No one ever asks, do you keep Christmas? They just assume you do, as most everyone else. And to go against this tradition is already a huge obstacle for most believers. In the case of Christmas, for example, those who refuse to buy into the story and tradition are labeled as a Scrooge, thanks to popular media or fun spoilers. The key to true worship is honoring Yahuwah according to his commands, worshiping in truth as well as in spirit. John 4:23 says this, "But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshiper shall worship the Father in spirit and truth, for the Father also seeks such to worship him." Now, we are presented the same decision as ancient Israel. Keep Yahuwah's days as commanded or ignore them and follow the inventions and conventions of man. Today's religious leaders completely disregard the fact that Yahushua the Messiah, his apostles, and all the believers in the New Testament observe the very days found in Leviticus 23, and they will keep them again in the new heavens and earth as in prophecy. Zechariah 14:16-9 says this, "And it shall be that all who are left from all the Gentiles which came up against Jerusalem shall go up from year to year to bow themselves to the sovereign, Yahuwah of hosts, and to celebrate the festival of Sukkot." So this is a very telling thing that many people refuse to keep these appointed times. And we even have the people again on YouTube that will fight against keeping Yah's appointed times. They say that we are in captivity and that in captivity we should not be keeping the appointed times. But guys, when the second Exodus comes, when Messiah Yahushua guides us to the 1,000-year reign, there's going to be these same kind of things. We are going to have these same appointed times. We are going to have Shabbats. We are going to have the same things that we should be keeping down here. And if we're not keeping it down here, what right would we have to celebrate it up there, right? We may not get it right. None of us probably have it right. But are we trying to be obedient to our Creator, or are we saying forget it because we just can't figure it out? And so that is the difference between obedience and those in covenant with our Creator who are willing to obey his laws, statutes, and commandments, and those who are not, those who are lawless, Torah-less. Continuing on, this fact begs another question. If the scriptural days were kept by early believers and will be kept in the new heavens and earth, why shouldn't they be observed now? Yahushua kept the festivals, and Scripture commands us to walk as he walked. 1 John 3:6. and that he left us an example to follow. 1 Peter 2:21. Shouldn't we be following it? It is appalling that those who seek the truth cannot get the truth from religious leaders who are supposed to be guiding them into it. Instead, they are left feeling rebuked whenever they inquire about why the church ignores the Kodesh days commanded in Scripture. Ezekiel prophesied of this very thing. Ezekiel 22:26 says this, her Kohanim, which are priests, have done violence to my Torah, my law, and they profane my holy, my Kodesh matters. They have not distinguished between the Kodesh and profane, nor have they made known the difference between the unclean and the clean. And they have hidden their eyes from my Shabbatoth, and I am profaned in their midst. If one seriously studies the Scriptures with an open mind, it will be quite clear that mainstream Christianity is ignoring some of the most important truths of Scripture, Yahuwah's laws. While preaching how unnecessary Yahuwah's scriptural festivals are, the Christian church venerates and celebrates with zealous enthusiasm the popular pagan holidays that are completely missing from the Word. So what will it be? Holly days or Kodesh days? Do you love tradition more than truth? Is your desire to please people or to please Yahuwah? It's your choice, and so are the consequences of what you choose. Now, let's head into Yahuwah's appointed times. What are they? Now, from Leviticus chapter 23, it says this, and Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, the appointed times of Yahuwah, which you are to proclaim as Kodesh gatherings, my appointed times are these. Sabbath. 6 days work is done, but the seventh day is a Sabbath of rest, a Kodesh gathering. You do no work, it is a Shabbat to Yahuwah in all your dwellings. These are the appointed times of Yahuwah. Kodesh them, or make them holy, gatherings which you are to proclaim at their appointed times. So one of the very first thing that even when I was in Christianity, there was these verses. We had the fourth commandment, which is the 20 commandments, which said, keep the Sabbath day, make it holy. And unfortunately, we never did because we would worship on a Sunday, the first day. Now, the next appointed time is Passover. Pesach, the second of the appointed times. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, between the evenings, is the Pesach to Yahuwah. And for those who don't, everyone in Christianity celebrates this as Easter, right? They've taken Passover and they call it Easter and they put bunnies in there, and they don't do what is commanded in Passover. In the appointed time of Passover, we have certain things that we do, how we eat our lamb, what we do, how we cook it. All these kind of things are in that particular command. Now, the next appointed time is unleavened bread. And on the 15th day of this month is the festival of Matzoth to Yahuwah. 7 days you eat unleavened bread. On the first day you have a Kodesh gathering. You do no servile work. On the seventh day is a Kodesh gathering. You do no servile work. Okay, so there's the third. Now we have weeks. We have Shavuot and what they call Pentecost. And from the morrow after the Shabbat, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, you shall count for yourselves 7 completed Shabbatoth. Until the morrow after the 7th Shabbat, you count 50 days. Then you shall bring a new grain offering to Yahuwah. And on this same day you shall proclaim a Kodesh gathering for yourselves. You do no servile work on it, a law forever, in all your dwellings throughout your generations. The next appointed times is called trumpets, Yom Teruah. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you have a rest, a remembrance of blowing the trumpets, a Kodesh gathering. You do no servile work. Okay? Now we have the next appointed time, and these are throughout the year, guys. So these are every single year. At the appointed times, we do these things because our Creator has told us we need to. So Yom Kippur. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, on the 10th day of the 7th month is Yom HaKippurim. It shall be a Kodesh, a holy gathering for you, and you shall afflict your beings, and shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. And you do no work on that same day, for it is Yom HaKippurim, to make atonement for you before Yahuwah your Elohim. For any being who is not afflicted on that same day, he shall be cut off from his people. And any being who does any work on that same day, that being I shall destroy from the midst of his people. You do no work, a law forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It is a Shabbat of rest to you. And you shall afflict your beings. On the 9th day of the month at evening, from evening to evening, you observe your Shabbat. And what most people do, and it doesn't say to do this, but what most people do is they fast on Yom HaKippurim, right? The Day of Atonement, because it says to afflict your being. And so most people don't eat during this time. Now, the next appointed time that we have is called booths, Sukkot, tabernacles. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Yisrael, saying, on the 15th day of the 7th month is the festival of Sukkot, for 7 days to Yahuwah. On the first day is a Kodesh gathering. You do no servile work. For 7 days, you bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. Now, what we have here is a week-long process, right? It's the feast of booths. It is the tabernacles, and it is a festival time. It is a time that we're supposed to be out in our tents amongst our people, and it is yet another time. And a lot of people don't understand why we do such appointed times like this. But there's a very good chance that in the second Exodus that we're going to have to stay in booths just like the people of Israel did when they were leaving Mitzrayim, and they stayed in their tents and their booths, things of this nature, right? So we're being prepped for our future. We are falling into obedience as our Creator has asked us to do for the people He's going to pull out and to move into His millennial reign. Okay, the next is the next appointed time is the great 8th day, Shimni Atzeret. On the 8th day, there shall be a Kodesh gathering for you, and you shall bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. It is a closing festival. You do no servile work. These are the appointed times of Yahuwah, which you proclaim as Kodesh gatherings. On the 15th day of the 7th month, when you gather in the fruit of the land, observe the festival of Yahuwah for 7 days. On the first day is a rest, and on the 8th day a rest. And you shall take for yourselves on the first day the fruit of good trees, branches of palm trees, twigs of leafy trees, and willows of the stream, and shall rejoice before Yahuwah your Elohim for 7 days. And you shall observe it as a festival to Yahuwah for 7 days in the year, a law forever in your generations. Observe it in the 7th month. Dwell in the booths for 7 days. All who are native Yisraelites dwell in booths, so that your generations know that I made the children of Yisrael dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahuwah your Elohim. Thus did Moshe speak of the appointed times of Yahuwah to the children of Yisrael. All right, folks, so that concludes the appointed times of our Creator. And as you can see, there aren't a tremendous amount, but there are the appointed times where our Creator has asked us that we meet with Him, and that we meet with Him as He wishes we would meet with Him. And the covenant path that we are on when we start keeping the Shabbats, when we start keeping His Torah, when we start keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, is very, very important. And the next section, part 6, will be going over what the law is, because a lot of people don't know what the law is. We as Christians, when we have been explained what the law is, it's simply something that is gone. It is something that we have been told is a burden. We're told that it puts us into bondage, and that the children of Yisrael, the people of the Most High, they were in bondage because they had to have the Torah. And the Christian religion and most religions will say that they're free from this Torah, that they don't have to keep this Torah. And that is a critical mistake, that we are definitely in the end of the end days when people think like this. Because when you read the Torah, when you read the laws, they are a beautiful thing. They are a thing that all of us can do for all generations. Everyone in our house can do this. We can teach every one of our children the ways of Yahuwah. They're simple things, guys, and we will go over a lot of them next time. And then at the end of part 6, I will go over the actual full laws so that we have them as documented in this series. So thank you, guys. We appreciate everything for you guys watching this and being part of the Yahuwah and the Torah channel. Have a wonderful day. I'm out.